Setting up your workstation to be suitable for you is so important for your productivity, your comfort, and your overall health. Welcome to this quick guide on setting up your computer workstation ergonomically. Whether you're working from home or working in the office, or maybe a hybrid model, setting up your workstation to be suitable for you is so important for your productivity, your comfort, and your overall health. I'm Joel Bromley. I'm an exercise physiologist with over 20 years of experience in workplace health, ergonomics, and workplace adjustments. In this video, I'll show you 5 key steps for positioning ourselves in a seated position at our workstation, 1 quick tip about standing workstation ergonomics, and a few tips about postural change. Let's get started with sitting. We have Brian here sitting in this chair, and the first adjustment that's really important to make is getting that seat height correct. And when we're sitting in our office chair, we want our hips slightly above our knees. So if Brian adjusts the height slightly, we need to get his feet flat on the floor and his hips slightly above his knees. I might get him to drop it a little bit more, just so we've got a nice fall through the forearm there. The second thing we can adjust, if we can, is the seat depth. So some chairs have the ability to adjust that seat pan length. So, seat pan length is important to consider because we want to be able to sit back into the chair and we want to be able to use this backrest for support. And the recommendation is that you have a roughly sort of 2-3 finger gap here so that the seat pan edge doesn't protrude into your calves and cut off circulation. If you can, adjust your seat pan depth. Then we move on to the seat pan angle. And the seat pan angle generally will rock perhaps forwards and recline a little bit. But adjusting the seat pan angle is pretty simple. It's on this 3-lever chair, the seat pan angle adjustment's on the right. And basically we just want to adjust the seat pan angle so that it is parallel to the floor. Perfect. Excellent. And then now we move on to the backrest. And the backrest might have a couple of adjustment points. It might be the backrest angle, also the backrest height. And when we think about the backrest, because the most important starting point is to think about the lumbar support to be supportive of our lumbar spine. So this is an upholstered foam chair, and it has the ability to ratchet up or down so we can position the lumbar support in the right area. So I'll just adjust that perhaps once or twice more for Brian. And then we're positioning that in the right spot. As compared to this chair here is a synchro chair, and the backrest itself doesn't go up and down. It has an inbuilt lumbar support here, and we can adjust the height of that to achieve that desired position. And the other thing to think about with the backrest is now the angle. So with the angle, we want to adjust it so we are sitting at an angle of 100 to 110 degrees. That's it. So Brian's adjusted it there. So we're not bolt upright, we're definitely not leaning forward, but we're sitting back into that chair and using it for support. Perfect. I think if Brian looks comfortable, we've achieved a nice, comfortable seated position. Let's move on to positioning ourselves correctly relative to the workstation. Brian's going to move in for us, and he's also going to face this way so that we can demonstrate his elbow height. Okay. So come away from the desk a little bit, Brian, and hands on your lap. So I think this is a good way of testing whether our elbows are at the right height relative to the desk. Because the key point that we want to think about is that they are slightly higher than the desk surface. And we're looking a little bit low here. So Brian, I'm going to ask you to adjust your chair a little bit higher. That's it. And now, Brian's elbows are higher than desk height. So when he's in working position, he's got a nice fall through his forearms. Now for some people, once I do this, we've created a secondary problem, and that is that we might not have good foot support on anymore. And if that's the case, we would simply use a footrest to provide foot support, and that might be in the form of a nice sturdy footrest like this, or alternatively, you can just use something that you have around the home to provide that support temporarily. Other people have the fortunate opportunity to have a sit-stand desk. And the good thing about a sit-stand desk is that it adjusts its height higher, so you can achieve a standing position, but it also adjusts its height lower so you can achieve a perfect sitting position. So in this instance, if Brian lowers himself to his height that he was previously, so if you just drop your chair a little bit, make sure those hips are slightly above your knees. Then Brian moves into the workstation. Now we can move the desk a little bit lower. We might just then have a better position that's relevant for Brian. Right, so Brian's looking good. He's sitting in his workstation in a great position. Then we move on to all of the things on top of the desk. And firstly, let's start with the monitor. So when we're sitting at working position at our workstation, we want to have the monitor height so that we draw a straight line from our eyes. It intersects with the top 1/3 of the monitor. Right. So for this monitor, I can adjust the height of the screen just a little bit higher there through its inbuilt monitor stand. Okay. We're looking a little bit better there. I might creep it up a touch more. But now, yep, straight line from Brian's, it's hitting around that top 1/3 of the monitor. If you don't have that inbuilt monitor height adjustment, that's okay. Popping a book underneath or using a ream of paper, something like that is more than adequate to achieve that. We then have the complexity of thinking about whether we're using a single monitor or dual monitors. And in those instances, where you position the monitor depends on the frequency of which you use each of those monitors. So moving on from the monitor, the other things that people interact with mostly is of course the keyboard and the mouse. So when we're positioned nice and close to the desk in working position, remember working position is elbows by your side. So if Brian's sitting up nice and upright, looking straight ahead to the monitor, his ear, shoulder and elbow and hip are in a nice sort of straight line. His hands are on the keyboard and we've got a nice sort of distance here between the edge of the keyboard and the desk, and that's about 12, 15 centimetres or so. He's not reaching forward to his keyboard, so he's not placing extra stress and strain on his shoulders and neck. He's not reaching to his mouse either. Now, some of you will be fortunate enough to have a standing desk. So I'll give you one key step for positioning your desk height when you're in standing position. So Brian's going to stand up for me. I'm going to move this desk to a nice standing height. The main thing we want to think about is where the desk height is relative to your elbows. So we can see here Brian's standing. He's in working position. Again, his hands are on the keyboard and mouse, elbows by his side. And we've got the desk height just below elbow height. Nice fall through the forearms. And perfect. That's all you need to do with adjusting the desk to standing. The monitor is in a great position and the keyboard and mouse obviously stay where they are. No matter how perfect your ergonomic workstation setup is, if we don't move, that's not great for our health. One evidence-based model suggests that for every 30 minutes, we should sit for 20 minutes, stand for 8 minutes, and move or stretch for the last 2 minutes. So the 20, 8, and 2 model. If you don't have the opportunity of having a sit-stand desk, that's okay. For every 30 minutes that you are desk-bound, stand or move for at least 2 minutes. And this will make a huge benefit to, again, our overall health and productivity.
Okay, well, Joel, thank you very much for that. Joel and I have been working together for many, many years. I started Sydney Ergonomics about 8 years ago and almost immediately started an alliance with Joel, who runs Coordinated Health. And we do a lot of assessments together, equipment supply, and just a lot of collaboration in the ergonomics area for workstations and workplaces, for mainly bigger, medium enterprises, but for small businesses as well. If you feel that you need some more information based on what you've just seen, please feel free to give me a call on my mobile number you can see on the screen now, or send me an email, and either myself or Joel will have a chat with you and give you some more information about either an individual assessment or assessments for your staff. And I'm more than happy to share Joel's details with you. So Joel, thank you very much once again.
You're welcome. Thank you, Brian.